right, male and female. There's always spirit in the center, which is the third part, which is the control, which is how God fashioned and created. It's the invisible hand behind everything is spirit, how God made the universe. And what is it represented? By the number 9. So normally people talk about the number 9, but I don't think you're ever going to get, other than this presentation or Vortex Based Mathematics, such an in-depth explanation really of how the mechanical properties of number 9, the technical properties of the number 9. So I didn't give you the answer to this yet. I think I'm going to save it for a while and make you suffer and torture you. But I can tell you it is definitely not the number 3. Okay, but we'll save it for a while. Next, please. See how I said I was going to torture him? I'm not going to give the answer. I can be tough. We are not alone. We did that last night. The 396 imparts both angle and ratio on the quantum macroscopic level to the 124875. Imparts both angle and ratio on the quantum macroscopic level. So I'm saying this is the higher dimensional. I typically refer to this as the 4th dimension, that's omni-dimensional, and I'm saying that if all those higher dimensionals, 10, 11, 12, all compact together, if you get the angle of the lower dimensional, our physical concrete material world, the 3rd dimension right, all the higher dimensions will fall into place with it as well. And the secret is wherever the 396 is, you leave it alone. You don't put a conductor, you leave it alone. You put an empty space for the flux fields to create the underpinning nested vortices. I said a mouthful. So we just did this. This is actually a current presentation. This is only current to this week. We just did this. We are not alone. Next, please. I've never been able to stay on the right time of a presentation. God's archetypal brainwave encephalogram pattern. The binary code cannot exist without palindrome, 396693. Well, there's your answer then. So what comes after 6? Another 6, but you can't see it. So it goes 396. There's another 6 hidden behind the 6. Then it goes 693. And you know what? That 9 that you get there is not the same 9 that you're looking at because you're now behind it. Because that 9 was a positive. This 6 was a negative. And that next 6 now is a positive. And that 9 now is a completely different 9. That's a negative 9 that you can't see until you're working on the torus skin, that they're completely different numbers. A few of you understand that. I don't see how you could follow that. If I was in this class following it, I'd be completely lost, just to let you know. Okay. The ultimate machine is the human temple, which is the throne of God. The brain is the antenna that transmits and receives divine guidance and illumination. I'm sorry I'm throwing God at you. I'm sorry. Yeah. But this is America. We get away with all that kind of stuff. Okay, next, please. Biophysical harmonics models the all-coherent brainwaves of God. Recursion, 12475, 12475, 12475, 12475, 12475. That's Gabriel's trumpet. Now, why is it called Gabriel's trumpet in the scriptures? Because it's also said in the mystic scriptures, in this case, the 7 valleys and the 4 valleys. I'll even say the whole quote. I had a goal, and I'm being real personal. This is a personal talk. I had a goal in life. My goal in life was to find my fortune in life. I wasn't doing very good. Yes, I saw a beautiful white crane. They're supposed to bring you good luck in the lagoon, in the marsh, you know, a herring. I saw a white herring. But I still hadn't found my fortune. And so I went and camped out on the beach, promised not to return back to society until I found my fortune. It's the old fable, you know, the king leaves with the empty basket. And so while I was on that roof, camping out at night, I memorized the 7 valleys and the 4 valleys of Baha'u'llah. And it's very beautiful. And it begins with, He is the strong, the well-beloved. O light of truth, the Samidin, the bounteous. No prince hath the world begot like unto thee. I am wondering why the tie of love was so abruptly severed and the firm cord of friendship broken. Did God ever forbid my deep affection fail or my devotion lessen, that thou hast thus forgotten me and blotted me from thy thoughts? Is it that we are lowly and thou art of high degree, or as a single arrow driven thee from the battle? Have they not told thee that faithfulness is a duty on those who follow the mystic way, that is a true guide I forget what it says, to the holy presence, but it's for those who say our Lord is God and who go straight to him. The angels shall descend to them. Likewise he saith, go straight on as thou hast been commanded. Wherefore this course is incumbent upon those who dwell in the presence of God. I bring thee the message, whether it give thee counsel or offense, albeit I have had no reply to my missives of old, yet this new love hath broken all the old rules and ways. Tell us not the tale of Layli or of Measurnum's woe. Thy loveth made thee forget the loves of long ago. When once thy name was on the tongue, the lovers caught it, and it set the hearers and the speakers dancing to and fro. And then he goes on, and he says, for this is the realm of absolute command and is free of all the attributes of earth. And they asked, and he answered. He's answering the question. He said, this is the answer. He said, this is a bottomless night through which none shall find their way. And they asked, and he answered again, it is the blackest, it is the darkest of nights through which none shall find his way. And they asked, and he answered again, it is a bottomless sea which none shall ever fathom. Because that 2n is an infinite but bounded infinity progression. It's called the blackest of nights, a bottomless sea. You wouldn't think about that with Gabriel's trumpet, but those are two adjectives. That's why it's called a hollow reed, that you blow the pit of self out from, which is supposed to be for, like detachment, self-renunciation, severance. The hollow reed, it's a famous parable. Or anyway, it's how to say the letter B, because everybody says it too slowly. They say it with their lips. And the B and H is said in conjunction. They overlap, male and female. It's not that I'm a negative vortex and she's a positive vortex. It's not that I'm a positive vortex and she's a negative vortex. It's that we're in conjunction. It's that we're in synchronization. And that's why this map is going to be why I am showing you unicity. And once I show you the hologram, you know that I have found perfection. And perfection is almost meaningless to you because you don't know what it is. But I do. And I'm showing unicity, and I'm showing coherence. I'm showing unity. And that's why it's called unity physics. And that's the goal. Okay, next, please. So now we're going to the 396 and 93. Now you see they're different polarities. Okay? So it'll go -6, +9, -3, and then what's the next number? It'll be +6, -9, +3. Phase 1. There's 3 phases. I know it's, I should explain it. I won't. But see it flipping? That's how DNA works. 396, 693. Just type in DNA and put the word palindrome. You'll see all the amino acids, all the language and the coding being based on this flux field, which is the language of DNA. It's called the bioetheric template or the morphogenetic field. That's why this is really a double helix if you look closely. 9 is the spirit flux control. 3 and 6 are the instantaneous magnetic field results. Next, please. I'm enjoying this presentation, by the way. I really am. Spirit cleaves in twain the numbers 3 and 6. The triangle, diamond, and hexagon all occur in phase 1. Because the triangle and the hexagon, they're all a part of the same thing. I have beautiful maps in my original book that I wrote, which had 500 illustrations, but another day, another time. I did it for making superconductor processors. Next, please. I'm kind of going a little too quick. There's the yin and yang, so I said there's no such thing as a duality. The third component's always invisible. It's the S curve. And I use that for electricity, to insulate electricity. It's a harmonic boundary. I don't need rubber. I don't need insulation. Remember the notes we had? Now that's what that was for. I'd use a grain, a shear. All the wood in all this hotel, you see this hidden grain. And the grain's a demarcation line. And I figured out how to make electricity, get rid of parasitics, get rid of friction, by not having anything. I don't need anything. I use its own harmonic oscillations to insulate it. Now, how's that? Next, please. That's why this works like sci-fi. This is why I'm like Chicken Little and saying the sky's falling. Who's going to believe something like this? Spirit's W-axis, the source of all motion, vibration, and time. And that's right there. Okay, next, please. Only the 3 and 6 magnetic fields can instantaneously respond to provide slippage and free play to the number 9 spiritual flux. The higher dimensional 396 flux fields pierce and impart spin to the 3D counter-spiraling 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 Mobius circuits, which always comes in pairs. They always comes in pairs. You don't see all that. Now what's interesting is I've started you guys, if I had put this at the end, you could never have absorbed it. So I'm putting it at the front, because then at the end, the other stuff's going to be really fundamental. And this stuff will kind of come to you in your sleep. Okay, next, please. Oh, keep that. Well, you see they were changing that when that was negative, they were positive, and when that's positive, they're negative? That's the control. And that got there from shooting out of here. That's the farthest distance. That's why this symbol is so profound. It's showing the longest reach, which is a straight line. And that straight line may not exist after it punches the torus, because you have two things in the torus. You have the inner hole, which is the inner diameter, ID, and you have the circumference at the equator, which is called the OD, outer diameter. That 9 puncturing that invisible z-axis is the long, and this is revealing the girth, the breadth, the width. This is width, the breadth. Like you're breathing. We'll keep going. Wow. Please, next. Omni-dimension, 3D. That's all we're occupying, except we're interspersed by flux fields. We think everything's in a straight line. We don't see that everything in our world's being curved by this. But our world's a logarithmic. Our world's a spiral, 2 spirals, counter-rotating. Another world and another dimension. This is one world. This is another world. There's 2 worlds. So I just got to do it again. Another world and another dimension. Woven together. Interspersed. Being sustained. Sustaining one another. This is called the lesser world. The next one that our soul ascends to is called the greater world. This world's considered transient. This is not even considered, it's considered, the saying is it's worth less than the dark eye of part of an ant. Okay, the base 10 system is composed, I'm reading it because I don't even know what I said, and I don't know if it's important or not. The base 10 system is composed of 2 distinctly separate yet overlapping worlds that are helically woven together. The third dimension is the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 surface topology. See, this is not a surface topology. This is the legend. This is the blueprint. This is how I did it. You haven't. The torus is the surface topology, which we are still just beginning. The surface topology of the torus of the 396 vector is omnidimensional. The pumping action of the 396 flux fields causes the gliding action. The pumping action of this causes the gliding action of this, of the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 Mobius circuit. So literally, this world is literally not even moving of its own locomotion or accord. It's being driven by a higher dimensional world, the pumping action. Next, please. We live in a deterministic universe. So that's the $64,000 questions. That's the big dilemma, whether our world is predetermined or not, whether there are absolutes, whether they're fixed constants, and yes, there are. That doesn't mean we don't have free will. It doesn't mean that we can't do what we wish or don't have a pleasure. But it still means that all roads lead to Rome. There's no escaping the black hole. Eventually, the Earth will be pulled crushing flat into the center of the Milky Way solar systems. The Earth's mountains will be pulled crushing flat. The seas will boil off in their bed. The Earth will be mixed together with other planets and stars, spun around faster and faster and faster until we all shoot out. The other side of the black hole is a hot, gaseous plume of nebular matter. It will go billions of light years in the form of a white hole, which is a pulsar. Every black hole has a white hole on the other side. It will eventually amalgamate, form new planets, new stars. Why did this happen? It's a process of renewal, A black hole is a compost pile. It's recycling. And planets and stars are the coolant medium that take heat away from the hole, the core in the center, so that the black hole doesn't burn up and incinerate, because it can only move high and low in a very limited small margin of temperature fluctuation, or it would self-destruct the black hole. So everything's about heat dissipation, okay, in the form of spirit, which is considered an invisible light. It's not the visible light, it's called the divine light. It's called and it's called a flame, but it's the flame that never dies. And so, all continuous mediums. So it can be a solar system, it can be water, even electricity skins, it spirals on the conductor. So we know that everything, I'm saying it doesn't matter what it is, follows the 124875. And I'm saying the Rodin coil is a macro mimicking a micro lattice structure of this, and that's why I'm getting unique properties of the Rodin coil, which I have not explained in this talk. And you know what? I'm not even going to bother, because we'll never get anything. I'll never get to what I want to talk about. So it can be water, it can be electricity, it can be a solar system, it can be plasma. And you can have not just superconductivity. That's why I use the term superfluidity, because even the solar system can be superfluid when you start dealing with that kind of black hole and condensed matter physics, and it's superfluid. Okay, next please. So this is called the great attractor. It's considered, I don't know if it's bigger than a solar system. I guess obviously it is. And then it's called the butterfly effect, the Lorentz butterfly effect, phase 2 and 3. Is this part here, the 124875. We see what's controlling it and driving it. Energy flowing into the future always follows this topological pathway. I've really said a mouthful. Optimal reduction, bound infinity, unlimited recursion, 124875, 124875, 124875. And we still haven't begun yet. I haven't even explained what happens with the 5. I've only explained the 2. Next, please. Bear in mind, women don't typically have big beards. That's because women are Mother Nature. And that's because they are the visible. That's why creation, Mother Nature, is visible. They're not hidden. Women, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I guess it's like being an exposed nerve ending. You're very vulnerable. You're very visible. 724. What's a man? We're a beard. We can hide it behind it. We're a negative vortex. Women are a positive vortex. We're hidden. They're opposites, based on 3s, not 2. And what was I going to say? A negative vortex men, I was going to say, if women are Mother Nature, what are man called? Or what is masculine in nature and physics around us? Everyone doesn't know this one. It's too easy.
Father Sky.
Oh, you did? Well, Father Sky, or I say Father Time, but you're right. Father Sky or Father Time. I call it Father Time, but Father Sky is exactly the same. So Mother Nature, Father Time. But everything adores God. Everything worships down. Everything bows the knee and prostrates to God, because everything has a preferred frame of reference. That means everything has an up, down, right, left, front, back. So when the airplane flies around the globe, if it's upside down, the wheels are on the top, the carriage is on the top, you're going to be hanging by your seatbelt. Very uncomfortable in that cabin, okay? So this whole, because God in this case, as far as an airplane in the earth, is mass, because it's exerting its influence. That's the physical, concrete world, okay? And every world that God creates, he always has a foci. He always has that world has something that is the hub or the center of adoration or attention. And in our physical world, the axis is it. It reveals the qualities and attributes of God. Everyone still with me a little? And we could talk about the axis a lot. But I will say one personal story, because you'll never probably get this experience that I did because of my work. I get to meet such amazing scientists. Someone was having trouble. He invested in Bruce De Palma, the N machine. You don't know all this stuff. It's too far back. He paid for me to fly to his home in Santa Barbara. He's staying in his brother's castle on the beach. And I couldn't help Bruce, but Bruce was a lot of fun. And he took me into his garage to show me his He said, this cost $50,000 to build. It was a box about 4 feet wide, about 2 feet by 2 feet, hung by huge change in the ceiling. And there was a wall switch by the light, and he turned it on, and it was like an airplane jet roaring. You saw nothing. It was a box. All you see was the 2 chains in the box. And he says, push it. Just walk up to it and just give it a shove. I walk up to it, and bear in mind, it's on. It's roaring. And you would not be able to hear our voices. It was so loud. And it's multiple gyroscopes. And I push it, because you know something's spinning in there. And it just sways so easily, back and forth. It just sways on those chains. I just went like this, just like that. He says, now watch this. He turns it off, takes a couple minutes, it just completely shuts down. He walks up to it, he rotates it 90 degrees, just 90 degrees in relationship to the Earth, okay? And he turns it back on. And now you don't think anything's going to change, right? What can change? Okay, it's in a box, it's sealed. We're outside. There shouldn't be any difference to our mind. It's called unintuitive. That's the key word. This experiment was very unintuitive. Just like I'm explaining preferred frame of reference to you and how everything worships God. It's unintuitive. Okay, everything acknowledges that there's something better, bigger, greater, because we're all conforming to it, whether we know it or not. Because it's imprinting its self upon it's imprinting itself everywhere. And so he turns it 90 degrees, he throws the switch on, he says, push it, I walk up to it, I push it, I hit it, I try and throw it, and it's just hanging by these chains, and that box will not swing. It's rigid, it's locked. Now somebody knew that principle. That's why they invented the little gyroscope. You spin it and you hold it in your hand, and it's supposed to strengthen your wrist, and it spins around, and it's supposed to be so hard to control, and it's supposed to make you stronger. Has anyone ever held that little toy? Okay. This box could not be rocked just by changing the 90 degrees because there was something communicating, interacting with the Earth. Gyroscopes communicate. Gyroscopes are omniscient. We have an axis down the middle. Our right and left side is a mirror. Everything starts from the inside out. When you leave this class tonight, you may forget everything I've said up to this point, but you won't forget your multiplication table, because I'm about to teach you what you thought was a 2D flat multiplication table when we get out of this. I'm going to teach you how to count all over again. And when Russell Blake from Microsoft, the director of future operating systems, he's devoted his entire life to my work, and he's translated my work to algebra, matrix algebra, written hundreds if not thousands of pages on my work. What did I do? I had to teach him how to count all over again, because the multiplication table is not flat. It's 3D. And while we're teaching all our children, it's completely wrong. And my work should be a curriculum for children. But I don't have the resources to do that. And so that is not what I'm doing. OK, next, please. But if I did, I would. Oh, the SO axiom. But we'll skip it. It's because we cover it in different ways. And there it is, the symbol. That's very beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. And the source, the Abha primer. Because it's based on primes. That's 3 squared. Now you're going to see 5 squared. Next, please. How are you doing, Raj? Good. It's not disappointing? Not what you'd expect?
I didn't have any.
Good. What happened?
We're down for some reason. No.
Was it Matthew who helped us? OK. Oh, timed out.
No. Well, we'll just keep going.
You don't know what it took for me to be here, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
But it's not over what?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you, Lisa and Peter. What? What, Lisa? Go?
You want to go this route?
Let's.
This chapter?
Absolutely. I don't even know. I can't even remember exactly our order.
Okay, we're all
Next, please.
Okay.
Thank you for your clapping. You're about to learn your multiplication table. You thought you guys knew your multiplication series, right? OK, 2 new things you have to learn. You have to learn about polar mates. What are polar mates? Sounds a little intimate. I used to call them polar number groups, but they're not even called polar mates. They're called number mates. Origin of the base 10 counting system, the first true prime number, 3 squared, creates the base 10 counting system. I'll explain it. You saw those 2 points horizontally lined up, and I said they were mirrors. But someone could have said to me, hey, Marco, don't give me this BS. 1 and 8 are completely not mirrors. Would you be the devil's advocate, Peter? Is 1 and 8 a mirror? No. Don't insult me. What did I do wrong? I said there's one error, the whole thing gets trashed, right? In the garbage chute with it. Because 1 is here and 8 is here, right? But 1 goes up plus 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. But multiples of 8 go down minus 1. And everything's starting from the inside out. Remember, it has to be a butterfly. It has to be that great attractor. 2 8s is 16 equals 7. 24, 32, 49. Wait a minute. 8, 16, 32. Wait a minute. 3 times 8 is 24. 4 times 8 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40 equals 4. 8 times 6 is 48 equals 12 is 3. 8 times 7 is 56 equals 11 is 2. 8 times 8 is 64 equals 10 is 1. 9 times 8 is 72 equals 9. Did I do it right?
Yeah.
So it's the same pattern. And you can only use each pattern once. And the pattern going this way is completely different from that one going that way. Because remember, it changes polarity. I haven't explained why I obsolete the binary code and why I obsolete. Oh, I have, but I haven't. I'm going to do a better job at it now.
How does the 1 work? I'm sorry, I'm slow. 1, 2, 3. Why does it work? What are you doing to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
See, the problem is we don't realize. It's a great question, honestly. See, you have to understand. He said he didn't expect anything. He's approaching this from a standpoint of he's going to be happy no matter what. And so when he looks at multiples of 1, I would think, well, hey, and most of you would think, hey, we know what's going on here. We have 1 rabbit, or we have 1 apple, we have 1 orange, and now we have 2 oranges, and we have 3 oranges. He doesn't see that. And what we all don't see is that's a multiplication series. No one ever thinks that multiplication, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a multiplication series. Who tells you stop multiplying when you think you're adding or something? Okay? But that's called a control. And it's very different, okay, than doing multiples of 8, which is the mirror of that. Because it has to go, because I'm only showing it to you in one context. One's going to the right, one's going to the left, or one's going up, and one's going down. But no one ever shows you this stuff. Who shows it to you? And that there's a use for this, and this becomes an XYZ system. Do you realize I'm telling you this XYZ system? I could say, I could choose my price for this. I can say, I want $1 million. I want $1 billion. I want $1 trillion. Because nobody knows this. And I got an exclusive. Okay? And I know what to do with it. And I know how to apply it to technology. And what era are we in? We used to be in the nuclear era. I can tell you something, we're not. We are now in the spirit era, where all machines can run in spirit, period. Wow. So I'll do it again. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. But that's really a control because I'm really doing multiples of 1. It really is a mind twister. And it'll show up in other ways even better. But it gets really fun when I start, but I'll never get there, when I start cycling through the different toruses. There's 3 toruses for base 10, but I won't explain it right now. So let's do multiples of 2 and 7. So this isn't 1 over here, this is a 10. And this isn't 9 over here, this is an 18, because it's multiples of 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. 10 equaled 1, 12 equaled 3, 14 equaled 5, 16 equaled 7, 18 equaled 9. Everyone still with me a little? Yeah. Okay, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, or 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. But I'm only concerned, now the last number that is before 9 is 7, which is the opposite of 2, which is also would have been here all over again, because after 18 would have been 20. So 2 and 7 are the same distance from 9, just as 1 and 8 is the same distance from 9. That means it's going to be a multiple in the same way. You follow that a little? Yeah. So multiples of 7 is the same pattern backwards. 7, 5, 12. No, 7, 2 7s is 14 equals 5. 3 7s is 21 equals 3. 4 times 7 is 28 is 1. 7 times 5 is 35 is 8. 7 times 6 is 42 equals 6. 7 times 7 is 49 equals 4. 7 times 8 is 56, 11 is 2. 7 times 9 is 63 equals 9. Same exact pattern, no redundancy, no omission, and it becomes a 3D XYZ. Let's do 4 and 5. 4, 8, 3, 7, 2, 6, 1, 5, 9. Zamir, 5, 1, 6, 2, 7, 3, 8, 4, 4, 9. Now, I hate to do this. The first two, I'm not explaining the 3, 9, 6. I'm showing the mirror of the hands. I'm not going to break our order. I'm not going to leave this because we'll never stay in order. But I really right now would have been showing you.
I can bring up wherever you want to do.
No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take whatever fate gives us next. But I would have been showing you the difference between the vertical axis or the x-axis, the difference between the y-axis and the z-axis. And bear in mind, eventually we'll be talking about the w-axis because this is all, and the w-axis is what blows me away. That, again, it obsoletes Wikipedia, that uses the tesseract and the hypercube. I have the perfect representation of the fourth dimension by normal counts, which is really the omni-dimension of the w-axis. Okay, so let's keep going and see where this takes us instead of jumping around. I'm not going to take over this presentation. I'm going to follow it.
I think it was me.
It's the, we should have gone into settings and said that it,
No, it was me.
Oh.
There's a button I shouldn't touch.
Oh, I
My
get it.
fault. Sorry.
Number mate building blocks. The number mates 1 to 8, 2 and 7, 4 and 5 represent the cross-section in 3D space of the WXYZ axis of superlunar holographic. It's not really correct because they don't represent the W there. The 3, 9, and 6 do, but not these. These only represent the XYZ. Of a superlunar holographic hypersphere, the first true prime number, 3 squared, creates a base counting system. And I would have, I probably would have done some things a little bit more different in different ways too. But it's building blocks. Next, please. Alice through the looking glass mirror. Our hands are mirrors with opposable thumbs, called bilateral symmetry, and is based upon the principle of parity. Having 10 fingers has nothing to do with the origin of the decimal system. You don't know that yet, but I'm going to prove that point next, pretty soon. Family number groups. This is pretty complicated, but it's so easy. Has to do with timing and phasing. If you guys were going to all be computer scientists and engineers, I'd go in depth. I'm just going to cut through it because you're probably not going to be designing computers. Except each one of us is a plane of 3D space. It's hard to understand what I mean. Okay, let's keep going. It's going to have to speak for itself. Next, please. Family number groups are critical, and I use them continuously, and you can never break the law of how they work. Biphily or Mobius circuits. Next, please. So now, and we just whipped these together, I think, this morning. Was it this morning?
Yes, it was. Sorry about the resolution.
1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024. Infinity is not infinite. I already said that. It's a closed circuit. You break the circuit, it won't work. So the Rodin coil, my invention, and everybody puts an input and output. They want to take the electricity out. They're making it wrong.
Wow.
There is no input and output. And by the very virtue of making it, it's being turned on by the emanation spirit. And closed circuit. Forgot my point. Let's keep going. Clefting derivatives to the left halving. Now this I really think you need to see because you're used to that doubling by now. I've only shown you 25 illustrations. And I told you that the ancients left the 5 and the 2 being the same symbol but encrypted upside down or inverted. This whole thing has to do with inversion. I also told you it's a recycling process of renewal. It's that this is a recycling center. So now a half of 1 is 0.5. Half of 0.5 is 0.25. Roger, what number did that used to be when it was the numbers going around in a circle, 1 through 9? That's right. And what's 2 plus 5? Yell it loud.
7.
Thank you. So if the fraction doesn't equal the number, the discrete number, then this system wouldn't have worked. So when you do child's play, when you play children's games by reducing it to a single digit, it still works. So now we're going to go, and Roger, tell me what's halving. So 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. What's 0.5 divided by 2, please? It's a quarter.
0.125.
No. 0.5 divided by 2.
Yeah.
0.25, which equals a 7, right? Okay, so now what's 0.25 divided by 2, please?
0.125.
And what's 1 plus 2 plus 5?
8.
And what was that number? That's right. This is the most predictive math there is. But bear in mind, I'm using it to predict on a torus, not on this. So the computer technically would know the answer before you even started, because it would already be in the computer. Okay, so what's a half of 0.125? Or 0.125 divided by 2, it's 0.0625. And we went down, we went through the hole. You see why it's called Vortex Based Mathematics, because it's always in at the top, out at the bottom. It's always compression, decompression. It's an egg beater working together. Everyone see that?
Yes.
Pretty nuts, huh?
Yeah.
They're gears. Numbers are gears. So this is now 0.0625, which is, and what is that as a discrete number? 13 equals 4. And that's where the 4 was. Before we used to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We came a whole different route, and it still worked.
Gotcha. Huh.
I have a point to make, but I refuse to use this illustration.
Thank you.
0.0625, 0.03125 equals 11 equals 2. So this is still doing 124.875, but now I'm doing it with decimals or fractions. Everybody see that? We'll keep.
Which decimal-based fractions seem like the most arbitrary, stupid thing in the world. We should have had 8 fingers and only had, you know what I mean? That's.
We did.
But it worked. But here we see that it actually has a reason.
Everything has a reason. In fact, here's the reason. The next plate. Here comes. The saying is all things are perfect in 10. This isn't the 10. This is 50-50. Together they make 100%. This whole class is about unity or 100%. Now, I got a little mind bender here. We don't know what 100% is. We don't. Okay, I can have a quart of wine, a gallon of wine. I can have a can of soda pop. They're all full. The lid hasn't been broken. They're all 100%. Their volume's completely different. What this is all about is content and quantity, how many parts. When you go to the right, this gets really weird. One part of, there's a relationship to it. So the way I see all this, how I see my discovery, instead of trying to explain to you, because I've been explaining things up to this point, but this, I don't think it does service to try and put it into words right now. So instead, I'm just going to say that everything is all connected, and everything's the same part of a greater whole, and there's an invisible thread connecting it, spirit. And so everything actually is serendipity, or beyond coincidence, or has a common thread uniting it. Okay, so 5/10, that was 0.5. Everyone agree that's 10? 0.25, that's 25 hundredths. 4 quarters make 100. And 10 times 10 is 100. This is 8 0.125s, which equal 1,000. And 10 times 100 is 1,000. So every time I was halving, I was creating a 0, and I was multiplying times 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 10 times 100 is 1,000. 10 times 1,000 is 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, a billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, trillion. 10 minutes left?
Yes.
What happens if I go longer and they can leave if they want? It screws up the next speaker?
I'm not sure.
Well,
Is there somebody else coming into the room?
would you ask him that I asked?
Yes, we're working on that. We heard that you asked.
Thank you.
I think she said you could go
Tonight.
longer.
Yes,
She did say you could go longer because we started late.
We'll get permission.
Go for it.
Don't worry about it. barricade the door.
We can block doors.
There's someone scheduled in this room after.
We know too many people to have them stop us.
Well, we can go up to our hotel room.
When I'm done, I was going to go to the lounge. So it's been 2.5 hours. And I'm still explaining you just powers of 10.
Yeah, we haven't got to the point.
So, but I am, when we're all done, going to, and then because I know that it's really stressful, this whole thing, for you and me. So when we're all done, I was told there was a lounge next to the restaurant. It's called the Bar Lounge.
Yeah.
So we can sit there if you want to go there, but I won't have this, and so I'll start being like I'm
Paper and
insane. I won't even be able to do it in paper.
like you're saying.
But
We could.
Oh yeah, you can.
let's forget all this. Let's forget the power. What do I care about with this? I only care about this. Something's wrong here. How did this happen? Because I said we're not alone. Somebody created this system, something intelligent. We're all looking for UFOs. We're looking for alien vessels. I found the mind of God. I found that an all-coherent intelligence has left at the scene of the crime his DNA. He didn't escape being detected. And here's how I detect what I detect. So, and this is just my opinion. Why are 10s always at the bottom? That's bizarre. How come they're always lined up, this disketting? Why are our eyes horizontal? That's called polarization. That's not by accident. Why are the 100s always in the middle? Now, they can cycle. The 10s can be up here, they will cycle, but they'll always be on the same row. When the 10s go up there, all the 100s will go there, all the 1000s will go, they always line up. So now the 1s are always at top, okay? So I wasn't going to say this point, but I'm eating my words. I am going to say this point, but I'm not going to say it the way I always say it. I'm going to say it in a completely different way, which is probably easier. Here's how spirit works.
I can give you 10 more minutes over, so 140.
Give me the most you can.
Okay, 140 would be the
But what's your first name?
John.
You're in charge, so you just drop the guillotine and we'll be done.
Come in with the cards.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So here's the problem. This looks like a duality. This looks like two lobes. But to get from here to here, I'm going to say it. You're going to see it right now. I told you that spirit pulses in thirds. This is based on the prime number 3 squared. God knows you've all heard of the Trinity and every other religious connotation. To get from here to here, you got to go 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps. To go the back way, you got to go 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. I knew I had made the biggest breakthrough you could ever make because it's not a duality. It's an optical illusion. It's not even male and female. There's always spirit. There's always a third controlling it. Everything we take for granted is an optical illusion because there's always a third component which is invisible.
Which is why electronics.
Why what?
Electronics came into being. The realization that you could control positive and negative from a third.
How did you realize that?
Just looked at what you did and you see you can deal with the two ends from something that's neither one.
I use this to make electricity. This whole thing is about making electricity because electricity does real work. And the saying is that, and we know that we need a magnetic field to control electricity. And because I get more magnetism, because I know where the spirit is, I get rid of the parasitics, I get rid of the resistance, because magnetism and spirit have to have the same angle. Okay, so let's keep going. You know, everybody, it's just going to end abruptly, right? It's just going to